What's up, Madridistas on YouTube? This is Kiyan Sobhani. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today's clip is courtesy of the Mailbag podcast that Lucas Navarrete and I recorded over on patreon.com/managingmadrid. And today's podcast was a lot of fun. Every Thursday, we answer questions from Real Madrid fans and we go through them. The questions are always great and we have a lot of fun answering the questions. And truth be told, I wasn't sure which kind of question and answer to upload for free on YouTube today. I like to at least upload a clip from every patron podcast we do, so that those of you guys who have not joined the Real Madrid family yet over on patreon.com/managingmadrid can just get a glimpse and a little bit of a tease of what we offer. For $3 a month, there's really no excuse not to be in the Real Madrid family. You get so much value in return. You get a bunch of bonus podcasts per week, and I'd urge you guys all to come in and join the Real Madrid family. But given the fact that I could have uploaded maybe 5-7 clips from today's podcast because, you know, there are so many things that I personally enjoy that we talk about that I think you guys would find value in, I put out a little poll today, and I think I'll do that more often. And the choices were Erling Haaland and the situation there and Real Madrid's stance on where they stand about whether he should stay there one more year or come now, etc. We talked about that. The other option was Bernardo Silva and how he would fit. And it was about neck and neck. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Those were the three platforms I asked the question, which would you prefer? And a bunch of responses on each platform. And the Haaland one, I think, won by like one vote. And that's, you know, maybe if I waited until tonight, the answer would have changed. It would have flip-flopped. Doesn't matter. I think part of the reasoning was because although a lot of people are interested in Bernardo Silva and how he would fit, it might not be too realistic for us to sign him. So I think that's part of the reason why the Haaland situation trumps it in this point. But I will say, I think the Haaland discussion was a lot more than what you just think on the surface. I think Lucas and I went pretty deep on it, and I think you'll find a lot of the talking points interesting. We're very curious to know what you guys think as well, so feel free to comment. And the Bernardo Silva stuff, we also talked about Courtois' legacy at Real Madrid. We talked about other tactical things. We talked about lineups. And so many other things. And that's, again, patreon.com/managingmadrid. $3 a month is the minimum pledge, but that $3 gets you access to everything. If you want more rewards, well, you can pledge more. It's up to you. But $3 is all it takes to get in. We look forward to seeing you inside patreon.com/managingmadrid. And enjoy today's clip. Thank you for listening. Abdul Diallo says, I have a question about the Haaland pursuit by the club. I understand Real Madrid have a preference that Haaland joins in 2023, but asking him that to me is kind of disrespectful. In the shape that Dortmund is in, there is no way Haaland is waiting another year when he has all the top teams chasing him. So if that's the club's plan, I find it embarrassing and insulting. Like, if you want him, go for him, but don't do this half-assed thing where you are telling the player, hey, we want you, but wait another year. I find that unrealistic. What if he gets a career-threatening injury and all the big clubs are no longer chasing him? This is not me advocating for Haaland directly because I understand the fit concerns even if it's for a year. But I am also at the viewpoint that if we are his preferred destination like multiple reports state, then go for him and figure it out. I know this is long, so apologies, but I wanted to get your thoughts on whether Real Madrid actually plan on going for him this year or do this half-assed approach or trying to convince him to stay when you know he won't.
Get the concern. I don't share the sentiment that it's disrespectful and embarrassing and insulting. I wouldn't use such strong words, but I do get the concern, and I think this is what happened with Beckham and Ronaldinho in the past. Like, Real Madrid were chasing Ronaldinho, decided to wait for another year because they already had Beckham pretty much signed. It wasn't official yet. And Ronaldinho ended up signing for Barcelona. I'm not saying that Haaland will end up signing for Barcelona, but the concern of Real Madrid losing him is just because they want to wait for another year is quite realistic, in my opinion. I don't think, as Abdul says, I don't think Haaland is going to stay for another season in Dortmund, considering that they are not as competitive as they were years ago. I could see that a scenario happening when Dortmund was reaching Champions League quarterfinals and semifinals, but definitely not now, I don't think. So even though the fit concerns are real in terms of, there are so many, there are there wouldn't be as many spots available for all the attacking players Real Madrid would have if they were to sign both Haaland and Mbappe next summer. I think that if you really want the player because you feel like obviously Benzema is going to either leave or a serious decline when he's not going to be the reliable player and the offensive weapon he is right now, I think you have to sign him now because even though timing is probably an issue, I think it's quite clear to me that expecting Haaland to wait for another season just because of Benzema right now is quite unfair and quite unrealistic, and unlikely in my opinion.
I think people are misinterpreting what it means if that Real Madrid ask Haaland to stay for one more year, and they're misinterpreting it as like some kind of ultimatum, when in reality what it likely is would you consider this? And if they said no, they're not going to be like, oh shit, we're not signing you, move on to the next club. Like, it's not an ultimatum. It's not like I'm sure they probably floated the idea around because they realize their own challenges of having Benzema in the squad still, and Benzema still playing at the level he is. I think
Exactly.
that's what it is. I don't think it's like, hey, if you literally do not wait 1 year, it's off the table and won't get you now. I don't think it's that, and I think fans are misinterpreting it that way. And certainly I don't think it's embarrassing and insulting, and I don't think Real Madrid are being insulting. This is negotiations. This is literally business and negotiations all around the world. It's, you try to haggle. You see if you can get things that would be mutually beneficial. You give value, you ask for value. I don't think it's that way. If Haaland is, in his career up until this point, has been very pragmatic in not jumping the gun too early. And so I think it's worth be like, hey, if you do want to come to Spain specifically and not anywhere else, and you don't want to, go here or there, and if you want to join us and you want to be part of this amazing project where you're a team with other superstars and we can build a dynasty here potentially, would you consider waiting one more year for that stepping stone and then coming a year where you won't have to compete with Benzema? I think it's worth just floating out that idea without being disrespectful. But I don't think if Dortmund or Haaland comes, and I agree, Haaland's not doing that. Like, Haaland's not going to stay at Dortmund one more year. I see some people be like, well, why don't you sign him and send him on loan? Because Haaland is not going to freaking do that. That's why. So I agree, Haaland's not going to stay there one more year. But I don't think that will be a deal breaker for Real Madrid. But, if I think they'll still try to make it work, is what I'm saying. I think people are just overreacting.
Yeah, and to be honest, if I were to bet on and gamble on something, I wouldn't bet on Real Madrid signing Haaland next summer. Just, it's just my feeling about the whole situation. I don't expect Real Madrid to sign Haaland next summer, and that means that I don't know where Haaland is going to be playing next season. I think Manchester City is probably the most realistic candidate, I guess. But if they end up being so competitive this season, I don't know if Guardiola will be willing to change his structure and his playing style so much to fit Haaland, because right now I don't think they are playing with a pure striker as Haaland. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, if you're a Real Madrid fan and you really have high expectations, about the team putting together a Benzema and Mbappe and Haaland partnership from next summer, I think it's not a very realistic scenario right now.
Well, I'd like to provide a devil's advocate to that. I think Manchester City, in terms of fit and teams that can afford him and provide him something that's really exciting, I think Manchester City fit that perfectly because, let's not forget they almost had Harry Kane. They really tried to go for him. I think part of the reason they didn't fill in the slot was maybe because they didn't have anyone available at the level they wanted, and it was probably too late for a plan B once they couldn't get Kane last second. They would feed him so many goals, and his off-ball movement would take advantage of that really quickly.
Money wouldn't be an issue either. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense for him to be a Manchester City player next summer. I think it makes definitely more sense than Real Madrid putting together an Mbappe and Haaland partner. Mainly, also, let's not forget, like Mbappe has felt quote unquote disrespected by PSG because they signed Neymar and also Messi to kind of quote unquote compete against him for the main main highlight and the main place as a star and leader of the offensive team. So I'm not sure if the way to go for Real Madrid is to sign Haaland a few weeks after signing Mbappe, even though people tend to think that these players would like as better teammates as they could get, and many fans assume that Mbappe is not going to have a problem because if Real Madrid sign Haaland, because they all at the end of the day they want to compete. Yeah, that's true, but also I think Mbappe has proved time and time again during his quotes to the press and all that he wants to be the undisputed leader of a team. And I don't know if it's a way to go for Real Madrid to sign Haaland the same summer and have these two players kind of competing and seeing who takes penalties and sharing the headlines and all that. I don't know if it's a way to go for Madrid in terms of of how they're selling Mbappe this idea of him becoming the main star of the project.
Can I play devil's advocate again?
Sure.
I obviously don't know what is in Mbappe's head. I mean, we all have egos. We all want to be the guy. I mean, not everyone wants to be a leader, I suppose. There's different kinds of character traits and stuff within every team, but I think if Mbappe wants that at Real Madrid, he's deluded because he's signing for Real Madrid, not Levante. Like whether it's this year or next year, we're going to be signing superstars forever until this club stops existing. So is he going to just go his whole career without us signing a Batman Robin situation for him, or co-stars?
But Haaland will be a Robin, Kiyan. Haaland will be another Batman. It's not.
Yeah, but they're not the same position though. Like they're gonna make each other look good. They're gonna feed each other.
Yeah, but if Haaland scores a brace one day, he gets the headlines. Even if Mbappe, I don't know if Mbappe even might actually play better. I don't know. I think there's a point behind this idea I'm talking about. Like, I get why Mbappe has. Well, I would say I was going to say reportedly, but no, he's been vocal about it. Like, I want to be the main guy of a project, and I get why he's been unsettled at PSG as soon as they signed Neymar and Messi, because he at the end of the day he got to share the headlines with them too. And let's not forget that maybe sharing these headlines with Messi and Neymar during this last with Messi only for a few months, but with Neymar for the last few years, maybe that's been the main reason why Mbappe hasn't been considered that much to be a top candidate for the Ballon d'Or. And I don't know, let's assume that Mbappe and Haaland play together and Real Madrid win Champions League and Liga brace. Obviously, that's definitely worth it for Real Madrid in terms of profit after the transfers. But at the end of the day, having Haaland as a co-star, that team would definitely take something away from Mbappe's argument and case to be a potential Ballon d'Or candidate. Because at the end of the day, I have to assume that Haaland would score 25, 30 goals a season, and that means that Mbappe wouldn't be scoring as many as he probably would without him. So I think that the concern and the point I'm considering is something that Real Madrid need to be thinking about, considering what's happened with PSG as soon as they sign Neymar and Messi.
So talking about like the fit and stuff, going back to that, like I think one of the under-discussed talking points when we're talking about fit, and we talked a lot about like how these guys fit together, Benzema, Vinicius, Mbappe, Haaland. One of the things that hasn't been spoken on that much is that, naturally speaking, how many games are each of these players going to miss? I mean, so far Mbappe is, is probably going to be until now, knock on wood, it hasn't had many injury concerns. Haaland has.
Right.
And Benzema's just coming back from injury now. Vinicius is burnt out. You know, we have to remember, like, whether it's Ancelotti or somebody else. Like, somebody else would probably rotate more than Ancelotti next season. But let's say if Ancelotti's still here next season, you know, his excuse now is that he doesn't trust the bench. Well, he can't have that excuse if one of Benzema or Vinicius are on the bench. So he's going to be forced to rotate a little bit more. And
let me interrupt you real quick here,
Please.
Even though I'm sorry and I apologize because I realize that I interrupt you way more often than I probably should. But
no, go for it.
I think if Real Madrid sign both Haaland and Mbappe, whether or not this makes sense from a football and tactical standpoint, I think Ancelotti is going to be forced to start all four of them: Vinicius, Benzema, Haaland, and Mbappe, and at least try
I just
to
got
make it work.
goosebumps.
It probably won't work, to be honest, or at least won't work against very competitive and demanding teams. It probably will work against the smaller opposition in La Liga. But I think he will be forced from a PR and even from a club perspective and from PR to at least try to make it work. And then if it doesn't work, think about something else. But we know that Ancelotti is probably one manager who will accept this PR thing I'm talking about and not give up on the idea on seeing if these four players can coexist and play together in at least 80% of the match. So I think he will be forced to start for all four of them if it happens.
So from a pure tactical level, I mean, it's not going to work at all unless you have a very, very high press controlling scheme where you're keeping the ball, waves of counter pressing, and you mask your defensive issues that way, and you ask everyone to buy in. But it can't be done with Modric and Kroos behind you, which means who are your two box-to-box midfielders that can help you do that? So I don't see this working. But so it's an interesting point you bring up. This is, to me, Florentino has changed a lot in this.
Yeah, this is the same as the Galacticos. Yeah.
But let's think about those Galactico days. You know, the most famous example, and there's many. I mean, every single ex-manager during the Galactico era has basically mentioned this. But, you know, the famous one where Luxemburgo takes Ronaldo Nazario off at halftime. Yeah. Florentino comes off in the tunnel. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he gets sacked shortly after when he makes his case. Florentino's like, I don't care. Just put him on the field. He's come a long way since then. You know, Mourinho was able to bench players like Kaká, and Zidane was able to
Pellegrini,
bench Bale, Pellegrini too. So I feel like, I don't know if that, I feel like there's going to be two names that absolutely will start from a PR standpoint, and that is Mbappe and Haaland. And I think probably Benzema or Vinicius is going to, right or wrong, Benzema or Vinicius will be coming off the bench in that situation if everybody's healthy. And probably Vinicius because he's the youngest one.
Yeah, probably Vinicius. Vinicius will be. I also considering that the left wing is probably Mbappe's favorite spot, and maybe I have to assume that one of the main, well, maybe not main, but one of the reasons why he would be keen on leaving PSG would be to play on that left wing where he thrives so much, even though he can also play as a center forward and also on the right wing. I think that he can't. He's looking forward to get consistent minutes as a starter on the wing because he's only getting those when Neymar is not available in PSG. So I agree with you that Vinicius would be the probably the odd man out here, but I'm not sure. I think Ancelotti will be tempted to, well, not only tempted, but will receive pressure, if not from the club, at least from the media, to at least try to make it work. And then if it doesn't, then switch to something else. But maybe from the get-go, or at least in the preseason, well, the preseason doesn't matter, but the first 2 weeks of the real season, maybe he will be kind of quote-unquote forced to try this. It's just a gut feeling I have. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it's interesting. Like, let's say if you go with the trio of Benzema, Haaland, and Mbappe, to me still Mbappe kind of has to go on the right wing only because, well, let's just hear me out.
Yeah.
It's not
you're
that's
right.
not going to be his best position, but like, think about it. Like, how is Benzema, Haaland, and Mbappe, those three going to work if Vinicius is not on the field? Benzema's going to Benzema can play the left wing role in a sense that he basically was that with Cristiano Ronaldo, because he would go to the left, Cristiano Ronaldo would go in the middle. So maybe you could kind of play Benzema on the left as not a pure winger, but someone who connects the dots on the left side, cuts inside, links up with Haaland, who's more central. If you have Mbappe there too, like part of the reason Mbappe and Benzema can play with France and be so well connected on the left is because they have a more pure, a more natural right winger in Griezmann on the right side, where he's not a pure winger either, but he can play on the right and cut in and balance things out a bit. So if you have Mbappe floating to the left too, that's a lot on Carvajal to receive switches and set. I'm not saying it can't work, but it'll be just interesting to see how that would work.
You're right, but you're right. Yeah, you're right. From a fit perspective, it would make more sense to have Vinicius, Mbappe, and Haaland than Benzema, Haaland, and Mbappe. From a football and tactical perspective, I don't. Obviously, Benzema can pretty much play anywhere on the field, but I think right now at this point of his career, he definitely is better off in the role he's having right now. And this lineup of Benzema, Haaland, and Mbappe would not allow him to play the role he's playing this season, I don't think. So I think you're right when you say that from a football perspective, it's what probably makes more sense, yeah.
The next question. Or did we have anything else to say on
Anyway,
Haaland?
Well, we discussed Haaland for 20 minutes right after I said that it's not very realistic and that we shouldn't expect Real Madrid to sign Haaland. And here we were making lineups and formations, trusting Real Madrid to sign not only Mbappe but both Haaland and Mbappe. So full
and
on,
Bernardo Silva.
Full on team building right on February.
Yeah. Well, this would be very interesting.
It's always fun, though. This is part of football, so it's always fun to imagine how the team will look like next season, even though it might not be very realistic.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I always say I hate transfer news and rumors, but I do enjoy the discussions about like the fits and the tactical side of things. Hey, Americans, Real Madrid fans living in the United States of America, I have some urgent news for you guys. The Chicago podcast we're doing, early bird tickets end in 4 days, I think. So February 28th is the last day you can get early bird tickets to the Chicago podcast. If you need help booking your spot to Chicago, ASAP, comment ASAP on this video, and I will send you the link to book. If you don't get in the next 4 days, March 1st, the prices go up, and that doesn't help anyone because we don't know our logistics as well if you don't book in advance, and you don't get to save as much money as you would if you booked in the next 4 days. So get in ASAP, drop a comment. I got you. I'll send you the link. And this is basically just to cover our costs because we're traveling to Chicago to get there. And also Washington, D.C., that's going to be the greatest podcast of all time. Me, Gabe, in D.C., nation's capital, March 20th, I think it is. I should probably know that, but somewhere around there. If you want to get access to that, you can also send me a comment, and I will provide you with the link. Thanks for listening as always, and Hala Madrid.